and unsurpassed, penetrating and perfect Dharma is rarely met with even in 100,000 million kalpas. Having it to see and listen to remember and accept, I vow to taste the truth of the Tathagata's words. Good morning. This is Thursday, June 11th, and the Zen Center is still closed. Today, I'd like to go back to basics and focus on something that we're always doing, whether running, standing, sitting, sleeping, all the time, our breathing. And through intimacy with our breath, there's a connection that always brings us to something deeply personal, while at the same time to something more fundamental than the story we tell ourselves about who we are. And whether we're doing our best or messing up, when we're unkind or defensive, awake, relaxed, spaced out, worried, ashamed, at any time we can reconnect with our breathing, which is always here, supporting us. The Japanese character for breath is a combination of two characters. The first is self, meaning one's own self, and the other is heart and mind. And in Asian culture, the functions of the heart and mind aren't separated the way they are in the West. And when these two characters are put together, they mean something like the vital energy of one's own heart-mind, which is how the breath is expressed in Japanese. And this infers that the heart and mind can't be separated from the breath, and vice versa. There can't be breath without heart and mind, or consciousness. The Zen teacher, Kobun Shinno, said, when you breathe, you feel you are doing it. But the whole universe is breathing each breath with you. He said that he feels the mystery on the in-breath and letting go of personal concern with each out-breath. He said what comes in is absolutely new life, a new chance. So how can we enjoy our breath? And how does this joy allow us to let go and trust? Buddhism is not a philosophy or a belief system, but a teaching that emphasizes finding the truth through our own experience, the experience of our own personal body and mind. So it's something that we practice rather than believe in. And we might say that practice is the intention or endeavor to engage in our immediate or unmediated experience by being connected with our body and mind. And the way I use the word mind refers to all of our mental experience, our emotional and psychological states, and our thoughts, including fantasies, ideas, dreams, judgment, and silence. And by being aware of our breath, we find different kinds of breathing. If we feel anxious, for example, our breath may be quick and shallow. When we're falling asleep or deeply relaxed, it may be smooth and deep, subtle or refined. And when we're embarrassed or feel self-conscious, our breath may be monitored or restricted and tense. And when we practice Zazen, the breath may be calm and peaceful. When we exercise, it may be loose and free. And as we develop awareness of our breath, we usually find that we become more aware of our mental, emotional, and psychological states. But sometimes, before we realize that we've become involved in a particular state, for example, before we realize that we're feeling angry, or afraid, or threatened, we might first notice that our breath has changed and become tense or controlled or even held. The breath manifests our emotional and mental activity. So the more we practice awareness of the breath, the more we become aware of our whole experience. Our body, breath, and mental and emotional activity are all connected and are embodied as one whole being. And I think of the body, breath, and mind as each being a door through which we can enter our whole person. Again, we may not even be aware that we're experiencing a difficulty, such as dread, but we may notice that we're having a hard time breathing, or we may find ourselves cold and tense, or with a knot in our stomach. And by being aware of our breath or our body, we learn to connect with our mental state so we can move into our whole experience. So our body, breath, and mind are each a key, and any one of them can function as a way to enter our whole experience and become more conscious. Developing awareness can be like exercising a muscle, in the sense that often it takes time and repetition to develop the ability to let go of distraction and return. But other times, it can be very simple. Instead of trying to do something, it's more like not trying, or by letting go of trying, since this activity implies a desire for a particular result. Whereas relaxing into breathing and welcoming or even embracing our breath may come closer to the intimacy of practice. And if you have a hard time finding your breath, try taking a deep breath at the beginning of Zazen. And I've heard that Suzuki Roshi recommended taking 4 or 5 deep breaths at the beginning of the period. And you can also place your hands or palms on your abdomen when you begin sitting to help you get a tangible sense for how your breath inhabits this area, or as a way to invite your awareness into your lower abdomen. And positioning our mudra on the abdomen in the traditional way during Zazen naturally brings awareness to this area. I think for some of us, we try to enact awareness of our body and breath as if we, or the part of us that's paying attention, we're up in a guard tower, looking down on our breath or our body, as if from the outside looking in. But in Zen, mindfulness or awareness doesn't work by tracing or reviewing or watching. It does not involve conceptual thinking. We join our breath or the condition of our muscles or stomach or lungs and are aware of their condition. And this is a wordless knowing. The way I think of it is when you get ready to take a bath and put your toe in the water to check the temperature, you don't need to think about the temperature of the water. If it's too hot, you'll know it. You don't need to stop and think about it or remember the word hot to know that you need to take your foot out and add some cold water. And when the water's too hot, you immediately know what to do. And likewise, we know the quality of our breath just by being in touch with it. And when you label the type of breath, you have to separate from your breath in order to call up the words. And Bhante Gunaratana said, you can only label something after it's already passed, because labeling takes time. Time for the thought to arise, time to think of words to conceptualize what you're aware of. And because of this, you can't label something while it's happening. He said that mindfulness helps you eliminate intermediaries such as concepts and words. And I think much of the time we inhabit something like a parallel universe. There's the totality of the world, which we are a part of, where we can experience things directly beyond our thinking and judging. And then there's our own private mental world, where we spend most of the time churning out a commentary about what we're experiencing and how we feel about it, as if we didn't already know. And the story of our experience often feels more real than the actual experience did. We can become attached to our story, which may be about a painful or difficult experience or a time when we were treated unfairly, so that we end up clinging to this as part of our self-identity, holding back from growing out of the story of our perceived mistreatment, which keeps us living in the past, unable to fully inhabit the present. The way we allow our breath to happen while being aware of it is similar to the way we practice with our mind and our experience in general. And rather than trying to make the breath be any particular way, rather than trying to slow our breath down or trying to breathe deeper or trying to relax our breathing, we simply join the breath that we're breathing and get to know it. An awareness of the breath can be a way to enter into the fullness of our life. And by being in touch with our breathing, we become more aware of what else is here, of tension, of a sense of well-being or resistance, irritation, sadness, dread, holding back, ease, calmness, joy, generosity, connectedness, and so on. And how we breathe reflects our emotional and mental states, as well as the physical responses we have to our emotions and thoughts. Because the breath is so connected to our emotions, psychology, and physical well-being, or its distress, our breath is an entry to all of our experience, and we'll never reach the end of it as practice, as long as we're breathing. The effort we make in Zazen is not to hold our minds empty or blank or void of thought, nor is it to force the attention onto the breath. And this would lead to a rigid state of mind. Rather, our effort should lead to flexibility by being ready to let go whenever we notice that we're distracting ourselves from our intention to engage with our present body and mind. So be ready to let go of distraction as well as insights. Be ready to let the tracking mind stop and return to your breath. We don't try to stop our minds from thinking. In Zazen, we try to wake up. And when you realize that you're thinking, let go of your thoughts the way you let go of your breath as you exhale. And this flexibility or ability to drop distraction and return to the breath over and over and over throughout a period of Zazen is one of the most important elements in practicing Zazen. And this ability to let go is essential. We can use it to let go of the stickiness of our attachments, to let go of our point of view, to let go of our pain and to let go of our story. And whether we like it or not, the inevitability of our life is to let go. And we have the opportunity to practice it right now. And Uchiyama Roshi said that Dogen did not intend that we get rid of all delusions, fantasies, or thoughts that come into our heads during Zazen. Yet, if we go about pursuing these thoughts, we're sitting in Zazen posture, thinking, and not just doing Zazen. And he said, trying to get rid of thoughts is just another form of fantasy. We let arise whatever arises and allow to fall away whatever falls away. He said, don't try to control perceptions or conscious awareness, nor attempt to figure out your feelings, ideas, or viewpoints. The most important thing when practicing Zazen is to completely let go of everything. And during Zazen, if you have a hard time connecting with your breath, or if you feel like your mind is too active and won't settle, or if you feel restless or bored, don't fight it. Instead, bring your awareness to one full breath. Embrace one breath. That's all you have to do. Just be aware of this breath. And being with one breath at a time is a way to get through anything that you find difficult. And Charlotte Selver, who brought the practice of sensory awareness to the United States, said we can feel whether we allow our breathing to function as it wants to function, or whether we manipulate it. And she said if you're having difficulty sitting Zazen, you could give yourself over to the question, what does breathing want from my sitting? How do I have to sit so that breathing has it easy to function in me? And she said, breathing can teach you how to sit. And one of the reasons to practice awareness of the breath is because it's always with you. And years ago I read, with your last breath, your last thought will pass away. And it had never occurred to me before how much our breathing and thinking are connected. And one way to extend awareness of breath beyond Zazen is to follow your breath while falling asleep. Very lightly join your awareness to your breath. And as you wake up, try to wake up to your breathing. For me, this way of practicing with the breath is a way to prepare for dying, for changing realms of existence with some awareness. Another way to practice in Zazen is to use the attitude that this breath may be my last breath. And as you exhale, try letting go as completely as you can, with no expectation that anything will follow. And using this attitude will change the way you breathe, and whatever follows can be accepted as a gift. And this helps us cultivate a state of mind free from expectations, as well as cultivating gratitude for something as simple as our next breath. And one way to practice with the breath throughout the day is whenever it occurs to you, pause from what you're doing and try to find your breathing, following it for 3 breaths. Or simply bring your awareness to your lower abdomen or hara and be present with your exhalation. And this is a way to bring consciousness to our automatic habitual activity And returning to the breath is also a way of taking refuge, of returning to our source. And as you sit, allow the universe to breathe you, and just be present with the whole inhalation until it becomes an exhalation. Let your awareness ride the breath, feeling the minute movement and detail of this breath. And when your in-breath ends, remain there until it releases into the exhalation. As the out-breath slows down and thins out, stay right there quietly without doing anything. And you can experiment with shifting your focus from the in-breath and out-breath, from the activity of breathing to the space where your inhalation and exhalation end, settling into the still space between the exhalation and the next inhalation. Quietly meeting what's happening at these intervals between your breath moving. So there's no need to try to breathe. Trust the universe to breathe you. Trust the all-accepting kindness of the universe, which so very generously offers us each breath. Thank you very much. For those of you who don't know, we're having Zoom Zazen Monday through Friday mornings from 6 to 7:20, and on Sunday mornings from 9 to 10:20. Everyone is welcome to join at any time. And this coming Monday morning at 7:20, and each Monday after that through July 13th, we'll have a short memorial service for those whose lives have been lost through racial injustice. The link for Zazen and the service are the same and can be found on the event calendar section of the Zen Center website. Thank you. May our intention equally extend to every being and place, with the true merit of Buddha's way. Beings are numberless, I vow to awaken with them. Delusions are inexhaustible, I vow to end them. Dharma gates are boundless, I vow to enter them. Buddha's way is unsurpassable, I vow to become it.